Hey guys, it's Wildcat, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to reassemble the upper portion of your WE 5.1 Hi-Capa. Now, this video is also going to work for a 4.3 Hi-Capa, as the only difference between the two is a longer slide. The internals are the exact same, so putting this all together will work perfectly fine for a 4.3 as well as a 5.1. So, if you're coming here from my last video, everything here has been disassembled and it has not been touched since I finished up that video. And so the first thing we're going to be doing is putting back together the blowback housing. So what we're going to do is we are going to find the little lip on our nozzle, and we are going to line it up with the cutout slot right here. So we're going to angle it in, use a little bit of force because it is a tight fit, and now that we have it in, we're just going to push it all the way back so the little lip is at the very end of the blowback housing. Now what we're going to do next is we are going to put the nozzle return spring in the slot here. So we're going to take the thicker part of the spring and we are going to line it up just so with the lip, and we are just going to push it in and make sure that it stays because it does lift up the tiniest bit. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but so you want to make sure that it has a good fit. Now, what we're going to do from here is we're going to put the blowback housing back into the slide we have. So you're going to want to keep your blowback housing facing up, and you're going to move the slide onto the housing so you do not disturb the spring. So we're going to just line it up, and with a little wiggle here and there, we're going to slide the blowback housing into place. There we go. Sometimes it'll click, sometimes it won't, and once you have it in here, you are going to want to maintain pressure on the blowback housing so the spring will not fall out. So once we have it here, we're going to lift up the front sight and we're going to screw in the first of our two screws. So we're going to take the small Phillips head that we have here. I'm just going to try to put it on my screwdriver because I am doing this one-handed. And we are just going to line it up and screw it in. Now remember to keep pressure on the blowback housing so it can be screwed in properly and you do not disturb the spring. Once the screw is in correctly, you can let go of the blowback housing as it is now partly secure in place. And we are going to move on now to the spring. So there is a little slot right here, the little indented circle. That is where the spring is actually going to go. So you're going to carefully place it in there. It usually takes me a few attempts because it is a little hard to reach. But once it is in, I apologize for this. Alright, now that we have it in, we are going to carefully close the front sight and we are going to push it all the way down against the spring. Now once we do that, we're going to take the flathead screw and we are going to screw it all the way in. Now you technically don't need to screw it all the way in because once it is in, it is just an adjustment screw. So I personally like to have it all the way down when I use my Hi-Capa, so I will be screwing it all the way down, but as you can see, it is not all the way down, but it is still staying, so you can adjust it to whatever height you wish. So once we have that, we are going to screw in the second of the screws holding the blowback housing in place. So again, this is a hex screw, so we are going to go back to my Allen key, and we are just going to, my bad. We are just going to carefully screw it in. And remember, this is a longer screw, so it is going to take longer than other screws while putting back together the slide. I'll try to screw it in a little quickly so we can get going. And once we have both screws in place, we can now assure that the blowback housing is not going to move. So once we have all this together, we are actually going to flip it upside down, and we are going to put our complete barrel assembly inside. Now you can either slide it in through the bottom, or you can just slide it in from the front. Now it's going to look like you can still fit more right here, but if you flip it over, the slide itself actually blocks the outer barrel, so this is where it is supposed to stop. So once you have it here, it is time to place the guide rod back in. So we are going to want to take the cap and have the flat end of the cap face the outer barrel. And so just like we took it out, we are going to want to compress it all together and slowly slide it in. And once it is all the way in, you want the tab over here to hit the blowback, not the blowback housing, wow, the hop-up, and it'll usually just go back in place. So once we have this, we are actually going to get our frame and lower body back. We are going to put the slide back onto the body, and we are going to rack it back. So once again, that little indent right here lines up with the hole. Not the indent for the slide lock, but there is one more back here. It's slightly smaller. So while it is lined up with that, we are going to place our slide catch in the hole, and this indent allows us to just push it in, and it will lock in place. So from here, we're just going to slide the compensator on, place the gun upside down, and we are going to use our second smallest hex tool to put in that final screw and lock the compensator in. Now, one thing that I have noticed is with the Dragon Hi-Capa series, this screw does get loose after use, so it is important to keep checking this and screwing it back in so you do not lose your compensator mid-game. And there you go, guys. This is how you reassemble a WE 5.1 Hi-Capa. See you in the next video.